What if I told you that the way you've been using Uncle Tom was completely wrong? What if I told you that the real Uncle Tom was a hero? Meet Josiah Henson, born into slavery in 1789 in Port Tobacco, Maryland. When Josiah was a little boy, he watched his daddy get sold to a slave owner in Alabama. Hell, his masters at that time even beat him at a young age, and then sold him separately from his mama and his siblings. The only reason he was able to reunite with his mama and them is because the man that bought him at the auction, Adam Robb, struck a deal with the man that bought his mama and them, Isaac Riley. His mama had to beg Riley to buy him. So Riley like, okay, I'm gonna buy his little ass. But he still gonna work them fields though. That was part of the deal. But hell, as Josiah got older, he worked them fields so good, that boy Riley was like, I gotta make him supervisor of the farm. See where supervisor come from? But then Riley got sued by his brother-in-law and started to go broke. So he asked Josiah to take his 18 slaves to his brother in Kentucky. And he wasn't talking about a car or bus back then. They had to walk from Maryland to Kentucky. 3 years after arriving in Kentucky, Josiah went back to Riley to buy his freedom. Because by now, he got a wife and kids. He took Riley $350 and tell him he gonna bring him back another 100, right? Just to make sure everything good. But Riley like, nah, fam. You gonna need to add another zero to that 100, player. So you know he walking back to Kentucky mad as hell. Then when he get back to Kentucky, he found out he about to be sold to somebody in Louisiana. So he convinced his wife to pack whatever they got, and they dipped. Now along the way, they ran into some Indians, got some food, got some sleep. Then they ran into this ship captain who took them to Buffalo, New York. From there, they crossed the river and set up shop in Canada, right? They found a spot in Upper Canada that was a refuge for escaped slaves. It would later on become Ontario. Now, some years done went by. Josiah done got a couple homeboys, and they done went and rented some land, right? Started them a little black settlement. Now, you know blacks wasn't allowed to read or write back then, so Josiah didn't know nothing. But this is where everything changed. Josiah had made enough money to send his son Tom to school. Tom learned how to read and write. Then Tom taught his daddy how to read and write. Once Josiah learned, he started teaching everybody in the community. Then he bought 200 acres of land just for his community because the population was steady growing. And right after that, he bought another 200 acres just for his family to live on. He became a preacher. The man served in the Canadian militia and led a black militia unit in the Canadian Rebellion of 1837 and captured a rebel ship. He was even a damn war hero. He became a spiritual leader in his community, making several trips throughout the U.S. and Great Britain. The man even met Queen Victoria. He even went back to Kentucky guiding slaves to freedom. Sound familiar? He was the first black man to be featured on a Canadian stamp. He's recognized in Canada as a National Historic Person. He got a museum and a park named after him in Maryland, a museum of African Canadian history in Canada. The only reason Uncle Tom is known as a sellout is because of the play that was performed by Shirley Temple and Bill Bojangles Robinson. And that's how his name got portrayed like that. For some reason, that just stuck with black people for years. But Josiah wasn't no sellout. He wasn't no snitch. He was a teacher, a leader. He was a hero. So the next time you want to call somebody an Uncle Tom, remember what Birdman said? Put some respect on his name.